Everybody tells you, including your doctor, your pastor, your fitness trainer, everybody says get fit, exercise is good for you. But with the exception of 3 black gentlemen from the old Negro Baseball League days back in the 1920s and 30s, there's never been a professional athlete ever lived to be 100. Never. The average lifespan for the professional athlete is 62. The average lifespan for the professional couch potato is 75. You gain 13 years in longevity by not exercising. There's tens of thousands of 100-year-olds who are librarians who sit on their duff all day stamping books. Other than those 3 guys back in the 1920s, there's never been a professional athlete ever lived to be 100. So exercise without supplementation kills. And this group knows that. That when you exercise, you sweat. And sweat is not just water. Sweat is a soup that contains all the known essential nutrients. And if you're exercising and you're not replacing what you're sweating out, you're shortening your life and you're going to have many diseases that are nutritional deficiency diseases. The guy who started the whole personal fitness program was a guy by the name of Jim Fixx. He was a runner. He loved running. He believed in exercise. He was one of these 6'5" guys who weighed 135 pounds, didn't have a gram of fat on him. And in the mid-70s, he came out with a best-selling book called, I think it was Run Your Way to Health or Jog Your Way to Health. And he believed if you ran 2 miles a day, 10 miles a week, that you'd live to be 100 and your arteries would be clean and everything would be wonderful. Jim Fixx, in 1982, at age 52, dropped dead of a cardiomyopathy heart attack, which is a selenium deficiency. Now, when they did the autopsy on him, his arteries were clean. But he was dead! Now, his protege, his top student, was a guy by the name of Brian Maxwell. His fiancée actually invented the power bar. 3 months before his death, Brian Maxwell sold the power bar business to Nestle for $300 million. Now, Brian Maxwell was probably the most successful of Jim Fixx's proteges. He had run over 100 marathons, had never come in less than 5th. Never came in less than 5th in 100 marathons. This guy had 14 gold medals. 14 gold medals from the Olympics, from the World Games, from the Ironman competition. There's probably a few people who've been as fit as Brian Maxwell. But at age 51, he drops dead of a cardiomyopathy heart attack, a selenium deficiency. This was a full-page obituary in the Canadian newspaper National Post, which is their version of the USA Today. He was actually in line in a post office in Northern California cashing in a money order, and just as he got up to the counter, he drops dead in the post office. Bam! He just drops dead. Cardiomyopathy heart attack. Now, what about being spiritual and being a vegan? You know, somebody who eats nothing but grains, vegetables, fruits, and nuts. Well, there's never been a vegan ever lived to be 100. Never. There's never been a vegan ever lived to be 100. There's no flourishing colonies of vegans anywhere in the world where all these little rosy-cheeked kids are running around. There just are none. You'll see why in a minute. So let's pick somebody who we knew was a vegan, very spiritually elevated, one of Gandhi's grandsons. Was found dead in his apartment. He was 70 years old exactly when they found him dead. And he died alone. Most vegans do. And he was emitting a very bad odor when he died because he was in New Delhi and the neighbors complained to the police about the odor coming out of his apartment. So they broke down the door. When they got in there, all that was left was a skeleton and a couple of 5-gallon buckets full of maggots. And so even though he was spiritually elevated and a vegan, he died at age 70 from something. They may never find out what he died from. Well, what is it you need to do to live to be 100? Number one, you need to restrict calories. Everybody's heard that you cut calories, you're going to be healthier, you're going to live longer. How many of you heard some version of that? You cut calories, you're going to live longer. Very good. They leave 50% of the information out. This concept came about in 1935. Clive McKay was a professor of physiology at Cornell University. And Clive McKay was a very good researcher, but he was short on money. After years and years and years of feeding laboratory animals a certain amount, he didn't have enough money, so he cut the food just out of sheer need to save money. He cut the food for the laboratory animals in half. And he was expecting them to get thinner, but they lived twice as long. Just by cutting their scoops of pellets in half. They lived twice as long. Well, he came up with a theory that undernutrition without malnutrition makes you live longer. And the newspapers and Sanjay Gupta always leave out the without malnutrition part. See, if you just cut calories, like giving up all your carbohydrate, and that's all you'll do, you'll actually die sooner. Because we know our food doesn't have as much nutrients in it as it did a long time ago. And so if you have less nutrients and you cut your food in half, you're having 50% of less. And so when you're going to do the calorie restriction thing, you got to take in 10 times the recommended daily allowance to catch up. 10 times the recommended daily allowance. And even here in the subtitle it says, eating less while maintaining adequate nutrition is a recipe for longer life, not just eating less. This particular rendition is found in Scientific American again, the